to transform the world. From addressing the climate crisis to creating job opportunities, we are committed to driving mindset change. It's not just a show, it's a transformational space, a space that inspires you to believe in yourself. Join us on the Mindset Sport and be the change you want to see in the world.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are watching in. This is the Mindset Sport. And today we are going to dive into a very interesting topic: how we can leverage artificial intelligence for sustainable environmental solutions in Africa, as well as unleash opportunities and strategies. And today we have a special guest. And so this transformative episode of the Mindset Sport is one that you should be able to listen through. We have an extraordinary privilege to host a luminary in the realm of data science and research, Dr. Hussein Hassani, a distinguished figure in the international scientific community and a passionate advocate for youth education. Dr. Hassani is here to guide us on an extraordinary journey into the future of how we can leverage artificial intelligence. And our dialogue today will revolve around a critical question, which is: how can artificial intelligence be harnessed as a potent tool for societal and environmental good in the African continent? So welcome, Dr. Hassani. How are you? Welcome, and thank you very much for joining.
Good evening, my friends, my brother, Richard. Thank you for having me. Let me join you saying hello and greetings to all audience from around the world, if it is morning, afternoon, or evening. And
Excellent.
I wish you all the best.
Excellent. Thanks again for creating time. And as we dive in, inspired by you, Dr. Hassani, especially the work you do and the commitment that you put in leveraging technology to make a positive impact in the world, it's quite really an honor to have you. So what I would like to start off with, so that our viewers can get a good understanding of this topic of artificial intelligence, with your vast experience in applying data science in various domains, could you be able to just give us an overview of how artificial intelligence can be effectively utilized for societal betterment in developing countries, especially how you see it for the African continent?
Sure. Thank you. Let me share with you a couple of items that how AI can be applied and can be used and utilized in Africa particularly. And then we can move on any section or any item that we would like to discuss further. A couple of them is my interest, like you kindly mentioned about the youth. Some of them you have it in the previous program, like energy poverty, how it can be used there. Mining, you had a program this morning. I would like to mention a couple of them. For example, it's give African nation and also around the world it's data driven inside. We know that the world is based on the data. Having said that, we are talking about AI, but we know that the backbone of any models, as someone that I have bachelor, master, PhD in statistics, all my life is data, related to data issue. And the backbone is data. So we are able to have a better data decision. As you can see, and you are involved, we are talking about SDG 17 goals, but all of them are based on the data. So that's the first one. Agriculture, food security is another issue that we can discuss and delve in. Particularly, I would like to mention about healthcare. When we are talking about healthcare, we can talk about remote diagnosis, we can talk about telemedicine, which is quite important. But what about the disease prediction, which is quite important, improving healthcare society and also access and the outcome about the healthcare as well. Someone sitting in Africa in a hospital, they can using the AI technology, they can use AI, but at the same time, you can use the expertise from someone sitting in Europe as well, like we are talking now. We are talking about the African nation, but I'm sitting somewhere else around the world. And the other thing, education, to me, is quite important. Can we use AI to enhance the education? Yes, for sure. Technology helping us, and AI is one part of it. Financial inclusion, using AI, I think technology enable us, particularly for the African youth, using this technology to enable them to improve the situation that they have, and also helping them for banking, for boosting the financial inclusion in the region and in any part of that. Energy efficiency, then we forget too. I can go on and tell lots about natural resources management. I can talk about infrastructure planning. I can talk about disaster response. I can talk about job creation. I would like to talk about this part as well. One of the reasons that I kindly request you to have this as well, about the language and cultural diversity and climate change action, which is your part as well, particularly, I'm happy to discuss. But I would like to stop here and then back to you.
Wonderful, wonderful, Dr. Hassani. I mean, you put in perspective, and I really like the dimension that you are putting AI within the societal context of how societal challenges across all sectors, as you rightly said, healthcare, education, agriculture, transportation, energy, in the African region could actually be leveraged. And this is really the cruise of the matter, because if you look at the continent of Africa today, food insecurity, over 257 million citizens go to bed hungry. You look at the levels of transportation interconnectedness between countries and even delivery services. It then, from what you are saying, is that AI solutions could lead to enhanced efficiencies. They could lead to improved service delivery and increased productivity. That takes me now to the second question, which I think it's really something that is not just close to my heart, but I think to everyone in the world, and especially to you, also driving youth initiatives and education. So the question then becomes that the enthusiasm of Africa's youth towards technological innovation is palpable. We see them coming up with different applications, especially technological applications. So in your own view and opinion, I would like to understand, how can they be the primary beneficiaries and contributors to the advent of artificial intelligence in the continent? How do you think they can harness this effectively and efficiently to drive transformational development? And I would really like to get your perspective of how you think this can happen.
Thank you. Let me share with you a couple of perhaps a story. First of all, I visited many of the great and esteemed countries in Africa. That's my experience. So I know that we have lots of talent in Africa, and I have a privilege to have many African PhD students, African. Now they are doctor, and I'm happy and glad to share with you this as well. So we can see the potential in terms of academic, so there is no gap. You yourself, you have been educated in the UK with you mentioned your story, successful story a couple of months ago, even after you're back to the universities as well. So from my perspective, technology has been there always, but when we look at the technology now in Africa, particularly for education, we have internet now, and AI can help them to join the workforce that we have, and also to show their talent to the other part of the world. We have the great resource in Africa, the youth and the mindset, as your program is. So the AI technology can help them to come to this market, to be innovative, to lead the way in various aspects, because don't forget that technology needs culture as well. And the culture moves this. So sometimes we have resources. To me, the resources is the African use, the African mindset, as you said. So we can use this. Let me give you an example. Now we have ChatGPT. I had a session on ChatGPT. The language barrier that we know, it's a barrier when you want to communicate, when you want to talk to the other world as well. But using a ChatGPT or translating the language, so the language barrier now has been solved. The other item is, for example, in terms of data science, now they can write a code much easier. They can add a comment to the code, and they can get a job from the European. And from the European other part of the world, they are more than happy to give it to the African as well because of the various reasons.
Right.
So you see that how AI and AI technology help them. And then you might ask how we can use the intelligence here. So by categorizing them, by using the clustering them, the African from various part, or there could be any part of this, we can leverage them more and more. Back to you. As I said, I can talk for half an hour for each part.
No, that is very great.
Interaction session, please.
Yeah, indeed. It is interactive. And I think you have brought up a very important aspect, Dr. Hassani, and it's a very crucial aspect that I think will become the center of everything when it comes to machine learning generally, beyond artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotics, etc., which is culture. And culture and people. And I like the way you've put that the resources are Africans, especially the African youth. So resources are people, they are sovereign capital. So what I would like to hear from you is that with artificial intelligence, chat GPT, robotics coming up and playing the role or that humans are supposed to play and facilitating effectiveness and efficiency and service delivery, to what extent do you think that the values, which are actually the fabric, the cultural fabric of respect, humility, love for one another and kindness, do you see artificial intelligence and machine learning somehow making, especially our youth, to start to forget what is the foundation for humanity that culture actually gives to each and everyone in society?
Well, at the same, the answer I should say here is yes or no. So technology over the time has proven that its go ahead is like an exponential curve, and every time when we have a new technology, then there was a challenge for society to adopt. After some times when we look at the curve, we going to the plateau, then the society has been adopted that technology to the culture as well. But at the same time, we are changing the society. We are forget several parts of their culture as well. But what it remains is a gene. What there remains is a mindset that we have and the culture that has been embedded to that society. For example, in your esteemed continent, you have various countries, and you know that we can talk about Nigeria and which kind of talent they have, the characteristic that we can, and we can talk about Nairobi as well. We know the Nairobi people, they are famous because of this. But at the same time, I would like to add the other thing as well. Not only machine learning and AI is changing, but also the ethical issue back to this as well. And we can talk about these other aspects too. But we are moving. Unfortunately, sometimes we are forgetting some part of it. But at the same time, using this technology help us to remember. So, for example, our culture, what was a culture, by sharing them to Instagram. So various of my culture has been 1,000 years ago in my country. I didn't know them, but now I remember them because of the technology. So you can see that pros and cons has been there.
Absolutely.
And, yeah.
That's a very good point. I think before we go to this a question from from this input from Mercedes who is watching, he says automation is applied to enhance efficiency in sustainable development goal areas. He said, for example, we see automation in refining minerals to solar solutions. What advantages is artificial intelligence in such areas where automation already does well? I think, Dr. Hassani, you should be able to take that.
Yeah, sure. Let me perhaps expand this question. I refer to one of my paper that has been, my co-author is Dr. Shuhan, and also I would like to refer to them, and Dr. Steve McPhee, who is a director of data and analytics in the WHO. In that particular paper, we even went further. We said, what digital twins can bring for the SDG. So in our view, we are looking ahead of the curve. And I would like to say that AI is done now. We have to look at the digital twin. So you mentioned in Minera, I would say every part of it. When I'm talking about digital twins, so you are sitting in mining industry, so you are sitting in the refinery industry, so you have, rather than physical version of it, you have a digital as well. So the world is changing. So you see that when you have a digital version, rather than implementing everything on the physical, you can get more insight, quick insight, 24/7 insight on the sector, make it optimized, make it much better, cost efficient, efficiency from various parts of it, and also being informed decision, because you have a vast amount of data, you can use it and make it model-based, data-driven, more insightful. So that's how I can see the world is changing. In few years' time, if you have heard about that digital twin, nobody talk about AI. So let me share you. 5-10 years ago, 10-15 years ago, data mining was the big topic. And then changing to big data. And then machine learning AI. I'm sure in 1 year or 2 years' time, everybody now, if I'm sitting here talking to Richard, how digital twin is changing the African world. So it's better we look at the curve. And then in that particular paper, sorry if I'm interrupting you, in that particular paper, on each of the SDG goal, I mentioned that how digital twin affect that. I'm happy to talk here as well, for example, about healthcare, about education for each of them. Back to you, please.
Excellent. I think this is a very important point that you are bringing up. I think the landscape when it comes to artificial intelligence, let me just say machine learning at this point, is changing so rapidly. So it's like a moving target. ChatGPT came out November 2022, and now it's having impact in schools where there are reports that students are not actually focused again to read, to understand, because they know that they do have tools that can help them. And there are also tools in which they can be able to leverage information from ChatGPT and get through that cannot be dictated. What do you think is going to be the impact of this? Yes, it's a good for the society, but at the same time, is it going to incapacitate humans not to critically think and use their own brains? Or you think that there needs to be some regulation that needs to be put in place to be able to manage, especially this advent and opportunities that different AI opportunities that are emerging can be able to drive?
Yeah, thank you for extracting this. You are like your mind extractor. You have this capacity, the talent as well. So,
thank you.
By the way, what you are doing now is like text mining, because you extract those that is quite useful and the direction. So let me share a couple of things with you, my experience. I had a session, I think months ago, about particularly for ChatGPT for education and a scholar. And the journey and the footprint, I share with them how effective. As a university professor, now, of course, I have a challenge to give assignment to students. So particularly online, because they can use ChatGPT and I have no control. And the statistic is much easier because ChatGPT still has some problem to dealing with the number. That will be solved over time because we are talking about machine learning and it's a learning process for the ChatGPT to do the mistake. In fact, in one of my paper, which is about the ChatGPT, particularly I indicated the mistake that ChatGPT had for data science. But at the same time, I think ChatGPT helped African now, the situation, because it's removed the language barrier, first of all. And then the advantage of it is it's back to the IP, intellectual properties. So now if you have a great mind, so you are equal with others, ChatGPT help you to come ahead, to be equal with them. If your idea is great, you go ahead. While before, because of the ChatGPT language barrier and many other things, you could not come ahead. So you always had a lower mark, even entering the higher education. But with the ChatGPT, your intellectual property is important. I'm glad for this as well, because of the, not only for the African, for Asian, for my country, for many of the country in the West,
Right.
the English is not the first language. That was a barrier. But I'm happy that this has been resolved now. Back to the great idea that we have. Ethical issue we have. And if you allow me, you mentioned about how I think we are shocked with the ChatGPT that came in November. Still, we are shocked. We didn't have time to adjust yet to the new reality that we have, even in academia, in many parts. So it takes time to come to the ChatGPT. It has happened before, like we had Google. We send lots of paper that copy paste from Google. Then we have a Turnitin or any plagiarism software. They pick it up. I think in few months' time we will have such a this software as well. It come ahead.
Wonderful. No, that's really great. We're having a lot of viewers. I think Giulia from Italy, and we have Sheila. We have Mwamini. He's saying that that's what Academia 2003 is actually doing with the Africa, I think, Comprehensive Agriculture Development Program for Africa. And I think there is a question here again from Mercedes where he's saying that AI strives with quality of data and research that fits it. In places like Africa, where data sets are limited and undefined, can we have limitations in terms of context of application? Over to you, Dr.
Okay, that's a great question. In fact, let me share with you my perspective. So look at the SDG. It's not only in the Africa, in many continents, we have a data gap. But at the same time, AI, machine learning, various type of the technology helping us to move a little bit from the traditional data collection. I in my recent LinkedIn, which is a paper I'm working on, it soon will be published. So we are looking at the auxiliary information like NO2 level to look at the mobilization, to look at the lots of data that we do not have in Africa. If we have a flood, say, a particular example, we had a flood in Korea. Do we have how much damage we have? No, we do not have. So by leveraging satellite data, lighting data, energy poverty in Africa, still we do not have comprehensive data about the energy poverty in Africa. But researcher, we used nightlight data to approximate the poverty, particularly energy poverty in Africa as well. So we are using this technology, and thanks to this technology that we can use. Otherwise, Richard cannot talk about energy poverty easily because he doesn't have a clear information. By the way, just one indicator, if you look at the IMF or any other or international organization, they have almost different definition for the energy poverty, and therefore they have a different level. And every few years' time, we are able, due to lots of restrictive that we have. So while we have a data gap, and I acknowledge that, but technology, AI related, I would say, is not only AI, satellite data, satellite technology and other technology, we can use them, we can utilize them in order to fill this gap.
Wonderful. That's a very important point that you are bringing up, Dr. Hassani. I want to go back to that point before we take a quick break on ChatGPT, which I think actually took the world unawares, and even the subscription was beyond imagination. And you mentioned the aspect of intellectual property rights. I think for the sake of our viewers, how has ChatGPT transcended that barrier of intellectual property rights? Because it seems to be a very contentious issue that actually prevent the sharing of technology, technology transfer that could actually be able to touch lives. So to someone listening, how is the advent of these different AI and machine learning tools bridging that gap?
Well, as I said, it's quite soon to tackle this issue. And we are working with colleagues about the AI ethic particularly for ChatGPT, because as you rightly mentioned, so you produce now lots of content which is not yours, but at the same time we have the issue of tokenization as well, as you know, Richard. So nowadays we have IP before, intellectual property, you can register, but the cost was too much. So you have to go through various process. It took various months or not years to establish now. But again, I would like to say the technology come ahead. You can have the token now for your idea. You can sell your idea now, but at the same time, the idea is yours or has been, you have a quasar as a ChatGPT. I wish as a scientific committee, we come ahead and we say that, yes, we have a quasar that is ChatGPT. The idea is mine, but it helped me to shape this. We have to be transparent, you know. Our society is not ready yet. It's in shock. They want to tackle one issue, they come up with another issue. You want to tackle, say, like now we have a quantum computing, which will be hot and hotter now. With this quantum computing, you have another problem as well. So now the cholera problem. So the huge opportunity, you know, but at the same time, we cannot tackle because it's too much for sometimes. It's too much, but I'm sure that we will tackle and we overcome it. They are working on it. We are working on it as well as a scientific body. And I'm sure we will come with a proper solution, but it needs time. Like we have done it in the past, we will do it this time as well.
I like that. We've done it in the past, we'll do it this time. And let's take a break. And when we come back, we're going to look at what can governments do to create the enabling environment for this AI drive to pick up with speed, to turn challenges into opportunities.
Welcome to the Mindset Sport, where we turn challenges into opportunities. We believe in the power of young minds to transform the world. From addressing the climate crisis to creating job opportunities, we are committed to driving mindset change. It's not just a show, it's a transformational space, a space that inspires you to believe in yourself. Join us on the Mindset Sport and be the change you want to see in the world.
And be the change you want to see in the world. For those of you who are joining in, we are discussing with Dr. Hassani how we can leverage artificial intelligence for sustainable environmental solutions in the African continent. And we are discussing aspects that are touching life and also touching into how we can be able to ensure that governments can actually come on board. So, Dr. Hassani, before we went on that short break, the discussion actually was touching very interesting aspect. And one of the aspects is the importance of fostering an interest in AI, especially among the young people, is very, very key. And the vast opportunities, especially job opportunities that artificial intelligence can be able to bring, and the trainings in education, which is actually a passion that you actually drive, that can be able to leverage to empower young people to solve local problems. Now, what I would like to hear from you is that as a frequent advisor to policy and decision makers, I would appreciate to hear what you could recommend as steps that African government especially can be able to take to create a conducive ecosystem for artificial intelligence to strive in the region.
Sure. Thank you again, Richard, for this particular important question. I mean, the issue of the youth is a backbone. When I always talking to one of my relatives who is a teacher, I would say, I always talk to him that you have the best job. And to me, the teacher in the primary school, they should have the highest salary so that the competitive to get that position should be very high. And everybody wish to be a primary teacher. Right. By doing this, we create a very strong base for this pyramid. Because we are the end user, you know. Someone is sitting in university, I'm the end user of the students come to this. At the same time, government who are governing the university, I'm talking about the country-wise, and also I can talk about African-wise the same, because majority of the university in Africa governed by the government. Therefore, they have a critical role to embed the AI education now part of the curriculum. Why not going even to primary care? We have to accept that AI is part of our life now. Unfortunately, we do not have this. I had a post in my LinkedIn. I invite everyone to bring this into curriculum, to the university, and also to the primary school. My children using AI, AI giving him a choice which cartoon to look, AI giving a choice according to what he has watched in Netflix. So you see that AI is part of his life. What he watches is governed by him. Now AI is a second parent, if not the first parent, rather than me, not in control. So if we look at this, we accept this. To me, the government should bring this with the support, with the infrastructure, and
Right.
also with the incentive. In my view, AI and the technology, in order to embed and implement, we should have an incentive mechanism. And to me, the first place is to go to primary school when it's not late, rather than coming ahead and to understand. In order to
Right.
protect them as well, they should know their right. You kindly mentioned about their right, data issue, privacy as well. Therefore, by bringing this element, we create a much better, safer, at the same time using the technology as it should be.
That's a very important point, and I think what you are bringing up is the dimension of governments making substantial investments in STEM education. Yeah, science, technology, mathematics. I mean, I think it's very, very important, and I like that dimension. You are talking about the development of the necessary digital infrastructure, and I think the formulation of favorable policies and regulations around this could actually help. What do you think, Dr. Hassani, about the public-private partnerships in accelerating artificial intelligence development? What do you think needs to be done so that at least, because government creates enabling environment, but it is the private sector that innovates. I don't
Yes,
know where you have some ideas that you can be able to provide so that those who are listening can.
I think, yeah, please. To me, as you rightly mentioned, the private sector always leading, because of the nature of the work that they have, because they have more flexibility at the same time as well, and they are ahead of the curve because of the not unnecessary per se regulation, but sometimes this how it is. The governing body should govern the country or region or infrastructure if they would like to implement too. But what I would like to mention here, the more collaboration that we have within the region, within the country, among the country, within the continent, and also worldwide, that helps a lot. The thing that they need to look at is ahead of the curve, be incentive for the user as well, because that's the way of they could be successful as well. They can look at what, by the way, whatever has been implemented in Europe or in US or in Japan or Singapore does not necessarily implement. I mean, we cannot necessarily implement it in Africa.
Right.
It should be tailor-made. It should be
Excellent.
tailor-made based on that. You mentioned there could be many factors, like what you said is about culture.
Right.
If you can make it like that, for sure is a success. And I think they have a very important role in this pyramid for the success.
That's a good point, Dr. Hassani. And I really like this aspect you mentioned up front, a culture, and that resources are people, resources are Africans. I like to come back to that before we go to this question that Marseille Desai has put here, which is, so the point is, if you look at Africa is a young continent, over 60% of the 1.4 billion citizens are below the ages of 25. What we are seeing is that this population is energetic, passionate, innovative, and of course, entrepreneurial. That's excellent. But when you look at it, the leverage of artificial intelligence tools is making their life easy because they are also innovating around it. But it also kills the ability to understand reality. And so I don't know whether you have any thoughts around reality versus this virtual space or bubble that they live in, that the advent of AI, which has its good, the bad, and the ugly, can continuously drive this reality to extinction. Do you have some thoughts around that?
Yeah, for sure. That's a very important question, and it's very challenging to answer comprehensively, because the reality and the virtual is quite different to answer, and difficult, honestly,
Right.
to capture even in my mind. But what I can say that for sure, AI and the technology is fast changing not only the way that we are living, but also, as I said, the culture. And and because of this speed that we can see, not only generating this, but also disseminating this information by at the same time observing this for the people. But infrastructure, the way that you live, is not moving by that speed. So you always has a problem. You want to be very innovative, but as we discussed, the education infrastructure is not there yet. It takes time to be there. So that's always we have this challenge. At the same time, youth people, young generation, they are losing this momentum too, because they are living, many of them, in the virtual world, but the reality is something else. So that's I would like to emphasize that we need to prepare these two. They should move line. Otherwise, we have a problem by doing this. More important, we lose many of the talent that we have and the skill that we have, because as you mentioned, nobody wants to read now. ChatGPT gives you. Nobody wants to read the book. Nobody wants to do even the work. And by this speed, in few years' time, those that are working with hand worker is the best. So that perhaps we should have to go back to that.
That's very true. That's a very good point. Mercedes is saying that the regulatory side seems to be trailing technology, and that aspects of data safety fears, for example, causing excessive protectionism. How best can governments advise to address security fears? And I think one of the points is bringing up is there is this apathy that information taken from people is used for different reasons, and how can government be able to protect at the same time create space for people information to be used to enhance service delivery, for example, using artificial intelligence?
Yeah. I would like to share perhaps few items here. First of all, for the government, how we can use the data, how we should, because data has a life cycle from the gathering to dissemination. So we have a lot of a step to follow. Fortunately, 2 months ago, almost after 2 years work, the UN approved 2 years work of data governance, which I have a paper on it published 10 days ago about the data governance. When we have data governance in place, the data provider, is like an insurance policy. Part of the data governance is to create an insurance policy for data provider that the data is safe, has been protected, and they have the right. So it's part of it, one part of the data governance, which clearly mentioned there. And in fact, when I want to talk about protection and data privacy, I would like to say, if you have a data governance in place, so you are safe. And the government, they have to do it. Not only government, any organization, any data gathering society or institution, they should have done this. I would like to now look at the second angle, which is data slavery. We are providing data. I'm a data slave now. I'm providing data. My mobile captured the data. Everybody capturing my data, but I don't receive anything. Now, that's a new society. But I would like to propose, which I propose for one of the more work that I've done, based on the blockchain. I should get something based on my data. I think that's the best one of the best approach. If I'm providing data, if I'm sharing my information, I should be able to get the reward for it. In this case, I know how much data I'm providing, and those that they are capturing my data, they have to pay for it, and they have to be responsible for that as well. So you see that there are various elements that we can look at it. What the rules and regulation and the government should do, what we are as a data provider should protect ourselves by what kind of data, but we have a right as well. Are we providing data? Yes, we are providing data. Do we get anything from them? No. Therefore, the other one is those that they gather the data. I don't want to mention, but the mobile that we have is the first example. I'm a sensor now. Everywhere that you work, Richard, now from morning till now, you have provided lots of data. Do you have any? It should be token for that. You're providing good information, somebody using that, we should have a value for it. And blockchain technology, for example, is one of tokenization, is one of them. Even for the idea, even for the talk that we are talking, we are sharing lots of information now. Various idea from morning now, I learned from you, Richard, various programs that you have. I can use them, yes, but it should be some reward for you as well. So I think with this technology that we have, now we have to move to the next level. We need to be innovative. We need to look ahead of the curve. We need to come up with the innovative idea how we can use this.
I think this is a very important point you are bringing up, especially under data governance, which I think there is the UN framework on this. But the point you brought up on data slavery to me is very hitting home, because everyone's data get extracted. You answer a call, you are on WhatsApp, you are on TikTok, you are on Facebook, you are on Instagram, your data get mined, but you don't benefit from it. And I think the dimension of bringing in blockchain, because it can ensure immutability and at the same time also trace, and there is that tokenization, as you've mentioned, I think is really important aspect, so that everybody will then benefit. And also we will then start to have this social media, for example, paying everybody who is part of it, which I think they do monetize content, but I think the data they grab have not been monetized. And if that was to be done, then it will be a win-win for everybody. I think this is a very important aspect that that you are bringing up, Dr. Hassani, which is quite very, very interesting. I would now like to pivot a little bit to, I know still the youth again, but I want to look at it from a different perspective. I know you are an advocate for youth education and empowerment. I mean, and I must applaud you for that. Maybe you can just share your experience on how you have leveraged AI, or how you see AI playing a pivotal role in this fair, especially because, like I said before, I know we've touched this, but the point is that the services in Africa, if you see, Africa is an informal continent. When I say informal continent, most of the people are in rural areas without access to electricity. And without access to electricity, definitely having access to internet, to be able to access mobile phones becomes difficult. And the electricity that can best reach this area is off-grid electricity, mostly solar driven electricity. So if you were to advise the youth in the continent, especially in the informal area, about AI, how would you be able to bring this to them so that they can see the value and start to understand it, despite the challenges that they go through?
Yeah, sure. For sure, these couple of points that you kindly mentioned are quite important and challenging. I was in a session that we talk about lots driving electric car, and one of my great colleagues said, "How can I ask somebody in Africa drive a car, Tesla, while he doesn't have electricity to charge his mobile?" You know, so that's a challenge which I acknowledge that. Right. But at the same time, we cannot be lagging by this. You know, we cannot be behind the curve. As I said, we have to be ahead of the curve. and we look at AI as much as we can. We cannot talk about the AI as a whole for someone that they do not have electricity for home. But AI and technology is changing the life. Even those people 20 years ago, they live differently than now because technology has changed them. Therefore, it's always good for them as well to be innovative, to think about how they can use a better technology to improve their situation that they are living. For example, I've been in many countries, as I said, in Africa. They use petrol for the electricity generation.
Right.
Yeah. But now solar is an alternative solution for that as well. So they could see that they can use this, and they can use this technology in order to replace the old situation that we have. You have been in one of your program about drying rice, I believe so.
Correct.
That you're promoting the solar, and you see that's
Correct.
technology. Then spreading the news that we can use a new technology in order to be efficient. We have
Right.
to move gradually. As I said, again, I do acknowledge that we have energy poverty, we have the lack of electricity in many an African country, where is not affordable. Even if we have, that's one of the target that we are talking, in the SDG, is not affordable, is not clean, is not accessible even for those. But we have to move. We cannot stay behind the curve. And that's why I'm always mentioning this. AI is fast moving in the Europe and the US and the developed country, but Africa shouldn't be behind this. This time we have to grow in parallel rather than become late. That's my view.
Very true. And I think, Dr. Sani, you have mentioned very important points. And I think Maxed he said that artificial intelligence tools, for example, ChatGPT has potential to be an equalizer in enabling solutions development for least developed countries. Just like what you said, Africa cannot be behind. And now his question is that how can tech-savvy youth in the continent position themselves to tap such tools so that they cannot be left behind? As has always been, different digital revolutions have come and they're behind, but how can they position themselves now to not be left behind in this fourth industrial revolution happening?
20, 30 years ago, the situation was different when we have an internet situation. So it was absolutely different. I remember when I was a MSc student, to download the paper, it took me 10 minutes, or if I could download it, sometimes it took me 1 hour, 2 hours, or next day I had the paper. Now in a second you have it, yes? But now internet we have, living the discussion about the energy poverty and electricity. But now ChatGPT, as I said, ChatGPT and AI situation put you exactly the same level that those that we are living in a country that we have access to electricity, we have modern tools to use. But as I said, it's a time for Africans show their talent as an IPO. So the ChatGPT, for example, remove the language barrier, remove the search engine for them, so they can be frontier, sharing their idea. Then they don't have that barrier as well. I think now is more competitive for others that they thought that the language, because of the language they have, they could be frontline. But now with this technology, thanks to them, they can be ahead. And now the brilliant mind that they have, they can, you see, many of the algorithm that has been developed is based on the nature. I developed various algorithms, if you look at my publication, based on the nature. Optimization, by the way, is based on the Bayes algorithm or ant algorithm. So when we look at this, the nature helps us. So now in African, we have a rich culture in different countries.
Correct.
Translating this to a technology that optimize. You have a various optimization embedded now in your country, in your village. So how we can translate this to technology? I've done it in one of my paper, by the way. And if you look at the blockchain technology, You are implementing blockchain technology in your village by sharing the water. Who is turn? You see, agreement. They have an agreement among themselves. Is a transparency. They gather all of them. They decided who should be the one to use the water and the consequence. So they have a big blockchain technology embedded among themselves, but has been translated to the blockchain technology. So now I encourage African youth to, because they don't have those barriers, translate those to the technology that they can use.
Wow, I think look, Dr. Hassani, you've said something that I've not really heard, and it's so exciting that the algorithms that are built around these different artificial intelligence tools mimic reality. And therefore, because of the rich, diverse cultural settings across different African countries, provide African youth with enormous opportunities to come up with different tools that can help solve problems. And I really love this aspect of what that you have brought in here, because the idea of blockchain is also to reduce forgery and to reduce what happens. Everybody can see it and nobody can be able to imitate it and do it again. And I think this kind of thinking can help the continent, especially in finance, because across Africa, every setting have what they call cooperatives. So people come together, leveraging their social trust and well-being to contribute and to be able to use that money for communal work. And I think what you are saying, the young people listening, is really an icebreaker for them to know that at least they're sitting on what I call a gold mine, to tap and use their tech savviness to come up with different AI tools that can make life better. This is really the highlight of what you said. And that takes me to this question, Dr. Hassani, which is that, can we then comfortably say that with the changing times in which we are, and we can now call the world of today artificial intelligence or machine learning world, that is going to be technology-driven AI machine learning world, then AI and technology, should it become a human right? Because access to food, access to water, and pollution dictation, determining everything medical, will be at the center of everything that technology has to do, especially artificial intelligence. Do you think it should become a human right?
As I said, Richard, as I said, we are moving from AI and machine learning. I'm talking about digital twin.
Digital twin.
Meaning that in few years' time, what you're producing as a data, I can have a digital version of Richard. I know what time you wake up. I mean, your phone currently knows anyway what time you work, where you are going to work. You have a schedule on your mobile that has been linked. So there is a daily schedule on that. And therefore, you are producing now. Look, if I generate whatever the data, believe me, in future, we will have a sensor as well. Anyway, we have a sensor now. So in broader term, I'm a sensor now. I'm producing data. I'm data provider. So for sure, yes, as I said, ethical and right issue is part of it, and we have to deal with it. The AI ethic is becoming more and more bold now because the data privacy, data issue. But as I said, at the same time, we are on an exponential curve. There is no barrier. Right. It's better we adopt ourselves rather than be against it. There is no one. It's just one way, as far as I see. It's better we have a good machine. We have a good protection. The insurance policy that we have with you on your pocket to be safe and to be a good driver in that road in order to reach your destination. So we are in a journey together.
I like that. We are in a journey. And Dr. Hassani, your impactful research, which I had time to look through some of it, and it's wonderful. I mean, it's impactful. And it intersects with technology and social benefits. And what I would like to just hear from you is, how do you think AI now could help address environmental challenges and promote sustainable practices in Africa? If you have some thoughts on this, I would really appreciate, so that we can hear as we start to run up.
Sure. I mean, for sure, any other sector, AI and the technology, machine learning, and all deep learning, and all of these, it's a great help because it make the society it, that we live together. It has a great impact on the way that we live, the way that we interact with people, and it make it more optimized. Therefore, the technology help us to be more efficient if we use it rightly.
Right.
All of this can save energy, can save the pollution that we are talking, the reduce the pollution that we are talking. Even if you look at this issue, rather than I come to Africa, we are very virtual. Yes, that's a technology. So look at the pollution that if you look at this issue as well. So to me, technology touch various aspects of our life. And if you collectively look at this, it's part of this a solution that reduce emission. Let me share with you here one of the work that we are using in the organization IAA, part of the European project, and I would be more than happy to implement it in Africa as well after we finish
Excellent.
this.
Right.
It's about look, whatever the decision that we have is top-down approach. So the decision comes from top, from the governing body. So we are as a human, we have to implement, we have to use it. But rather, we are the person, and the first one should be consulted. But unfortunately, your voice has not been here. So like this, you are sitting in Africa, they are asking to reduce emission, but they don't know your challenges. In fact, you don't have electricity in order to tackle to use it more. So what we are doing here as a proposal, for the first time, we are producing an app which is called challenging mapping. So
Right.
your voice should be here. So we are proposing a bottom-up approach. As a civil society, as a person that lives in society, I should look at my challenge, I should report it, and the government should act based on what I request and what I see. And it's challenge for me to live. Of course, there is a voting situation. It's like social media that they can be involved. And we have
Right.
seen tokenization, part of it as well, as IP as well, to help them, to incentivize them. So you
Very
see
good
that
point.
technology is helping a lot.
Very, very good point. And I think the challenging mapping is a very important tool, and it could also have potential solutions of what government should be able to do, as well as also the citizens, so that
It's
everybody
lots.
plays his part.
It's
Very,
lots.
very, very.
Yes, it's lots, and we are planning it to have it soon during COP. We will have a version of it, and then it will be implemented in 12 European countries by partner. But here, I promise you that, Richard, after we have this, gladly we will implement it in Africa as well.
Excellent, excellent. And I really like the fact that you have really explained very clearly how AI offers an innovative way to harness data for actionable insights into the many challenges that Africa faces today: environmental conservation, climate change, wildlife protection, deforestation. As we run off, Prof, I would like to now get your thoughts, your final thoughts, looking into the future. I know you've already touched this. What potential challenges do you anticipate in the widespread adoption and implementation of AI in Africa? And how can these challenges be overcome, given what you know today?
To me, there are various challenges. Is a capacity, is an infrastructure, rules and regulation, because every country they have their own rules and regulation, which is acceptable. At the same time, I acknowledge them as well. These are the various challenges that we would like to mention, how they are dealing, how the perception of the people and the demographic situation that they have, culture, diversity that they have within the country and continent also matter as well. And these are the various challenges that we are dealing with it. So I'm talking about using AI, why we don't have an infrastructure, how you can use AI to tackle this issue. At the same time, you are not capable to do that because you have not been trained enough, if not at all. And that should be from the education part, from the government body to come to that. These are lots of challenges, but we mentioned many of them during our talk, and then how it could be tackled. Again, it could be embedded from the government, it could be international organization, but I would like to mention here as well, this has been always there. It's a time for us to move this.
It's a time for us to move this. Yes, indeed.
It should be bottom-up approach. It should be society, citizen science should move this. We are living because we know what the problem is. We know how best we can challenge, solve this situation in a short time, medium time, and long term. Nobody can talk about the village in one particular aspect in Nairobi. Themselves, they know better than everyone what's the challenges, how they can be a little bit tweak and help a little bit help. They can support that to solve it. So we need to look at this. We need to move the society, but at the same time, we need to be incentivized.
That's a very, very, very important, Dr. Hassani. The Mercedes is saying that the digital twin analogy you have painted is scary because the data collected by phones can create one's clone in terms of habit, which then means that there is going to be no privacy, no secrecy. You can be cloned and even used to give speeches just the way you are. And what I would like to hear from you, before there is another very important comment from Dr. Fru Ndenge, but this particular one, what I want to get from you, from what Mark said, is saying here is that there seems to be no robust regulation to be able to contain the negatives of AI as compared to the proliferation speed in which the advent of new tools are happening. I know that ChatGPT was banned in some few countries, but that ban was uplifted in some countries. What do you think that at the end of the day we are headed into? Because at the end, you get up in the morning, you see Dr. Hassani is speaking somewhere, but you're not the one. You've been cloned. you are giving the same information. So I don't know what's your take on that, because it's quite a very scary picture.
Yeah, life is scary now at the moment. But let me share you. I had a colleague, many years ago, we had this WhatsApp. And then he said, no, I'm not joining WhatsApp because of the privacy. Oh, everybody can see this. No, I'm not. So he was against it. So we said, I myself, I would say I'm not against it. As I said, I try to sit in a car, which is good car, safe, and I have insurance policy in my pocket because I know that at the end of the day, we are in a journey. So what happened? We have all event. He missed many events because it was everything but WhatsApp. He missed them, or he came late, or he came the day after. So finally he said, I have to come to this. But it was very late. He missed many events. So if we like it or not, we have been in this situation many times. You have seen Google, Microsoft, Facebook being in the court, many of them, just not to mention the name. But then what happened at the end of the day? We have heard lots, and we have seen lots of a scandal. And I do acknowledge that the data issue and the privacy issue and digital twin is scary, but we are giving the right we are producing all the data, and we gave them. So did you stop them? So leave your phone, but you will in 5 minutes, and then you pick it up. So rather than this, to me, it's the better usage of the technology. Rather than being against it, it's better to be with it, to use it, but properly, as much as we can, to protect ourselves as well. As I said, we have a data governance now. If we have a data governance, is like an insurance policy that you have in your hand. Therefore, they have to implement this. We need to be with the technology. We need to be friends with the technology. If you are friend with someone, you accept his pros and cons,
Correct.
but still you are his friends. Yes.
I like that. I like that. That's a very good analogy. I think Dr. Frundenge says Dr. Hassani is saying it correctly. Artificial intelligence is just a tool, and it's exactly in exploiting the tool, in exposing the creativity in us Africans, and that's where we come up with unique solutions which are typically African and which no foreign person can do. That is a USP for those who can see it. Yes, AI is a game changer. Yes, see it. Yes, exploit it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for he's right. I think we are in the same boat, Dr. Fra, and same car as well. So you have the insurance policy in your pocket.
Indeed, in your pocket. Yes, I think Max Desai says bottom-up challenges map solutions should match challenge with solutions. Citizens should not only share challenges, but propose solutions they know to work that need to be expanded.
Exactly. If I may add here,
yes.
As I said, the challenging mapping that we are proposing is for the first time that we, the citizen, they are reporting the challenges, but they have the option that they provide the solution to. If I may add a little bit, so it's like reporting mechanism that you can propose. These are the challenges. I propose to have this video, phone, voice, and the camera, and anything that you would like to send to authority as well. At the same time, you are able to send it privately and share it with all publicly, so they can vote, even share this challenge with them, so amplify the challenge that they have and the solution that they have provided as well. That's why I said purely should go to citizen, and this time government should react based on the citizen requirement and based on the solution that they're providing. Because at the end of the day, the government, they are here to help us to have a better life.
Correct. Very, very correct. And I think the point that you brought up earlier, that artificial intelligence tools mimic reality, also provide that opportunity that those realistic challenges also have solutions that the people at the local communities can propose those solutions. And they're already even undertaking them, like the solar dryer that you mentioned, that actually we are driving across the continent. Most of the informal sector actors know how to use it. They're using it. So it's about bringing it to scale. It's about helping them to access finance. And I think this is a very important point that you've brought up. So Dr. Hassani, your last word so that we run up. What would you say to our viewers today? They've listened, they've heard, you've clarified doubts, and they're no longer scary.
I mean, you should not, first, I would like to say that you should not be scared. As I said, you are the rather think about you are the driver.
Correct.
In few years time, we have a robot in our house. He's doing everything. The robot. He knows how I act. He knows how I eat. He knows what time and what kind of food is more scary than this.
Right.
And he gives you all the information you want, and the memory that the robot has, nobody has it. Exactly, if you want to say something, gives you exactly the date and time. All the information that you move has been saved in that robot. That's why I said digital twin is not virtual. It's a reality now. And it comes to us more and more. So it's better we prepare ourselves. That's why I said government, society, academia, scholar, and people like Richard, like others, we have to prepare our youth, because these are the future that they are dealing with it. By providing them the means and tools, we are equip them with their right. They know what are their rights in order to share their information and also to protect themselves if they has been misused. Are we trained before? No, we did not have this. That's why you give your data easily. But if they are equipped enough, they might come up with the innovative idea that, yes, I give a little bit of my information that I think is safe, but I should be rewarded for that.
I really like
lots of
exactly. No, that is really wonderful, Dr. Hassani. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for clarifying a lot of doubts. And I'm going to make sure that I'll bring you back again, because I think if you can see from the comments, there is a lot of excitement from our viewers, and the public do really appreciate your insights. And so, in wrapping up our invigorating discussion, we can't help but feel a sense of hope, which Dr. Hassani has explained and given us hope and anticipation for the future of AI in Africa and even the world. So it's a journey, as you've heard from Dr. Hassani, a journey that is fraught with challenges and with opportunities, but armed with the insights shared by Dr. Hassani today. We are convinced and we're confident that the continent is poised to make a significant stride in leveraging artificial intelligence to drive transformational development. And I extend my heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Hassani for the enlightening discussion, enlightening us with profound insights. And we look forward to witnessing the transformative power of AI as it unfolds across the African continent. Until then, that was it. And
thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me, Richard. And AI Africa, please.
Indeed. Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.
In a world full of challenges, it's easy to